Welcome to Plus Size Stories, episode 7. Tonight we talk with Jenny, a mom of 4 in Virginia, and she is going through her own personal weight loss journey right now and has been, like many of us, going through weight struggles her entire life. But wait till you hear her story and the kind of support she gets from her family. It's pretty inspiring. And with that, here's Jenny. And welcome once again to the latest episode of Plus Size Stories. Today we speak with Jenny, a 46-year-old woman from Virginia who, like many of us, has been dealing with weight loss issues all of her life, but we'll let her tell that story. Jenny, thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. So let's see. We've been kind of friends on TikTok for probably a few months now at this point.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool seeing your progress. And Ruby picked out my shirt. Jenny's daughter, Ruby.
Yeah, last minute tonight.
Yeah, she's taken to my Hawaiian shirts, so I allow her to pick out my shirts every night.
She loves it. She loves it.
Well, that's great. So Jenny, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you came from, how you grew up, whatever you're comfortable in telling.
So I actually grew up in Eastern North Carolina. In a very rural area. I know that one of the towns that I lived in still only has one stop sign. So, and I grew up in a single parent home. My mom was there. My dad was in and out of the picture. He had some things that he just had going on in his life, and he was a good dad, but it was hard for him to be there. So,
Sure.
And I really feel like when I was thinking about everything today, with it being my year mark of how it all started, and it was just at a young age having a bad relationship with food because it wasn't always there, being a single mom and her own health issues. She just had a hard time putting food on the table, and so there was a lot of rice, white rice, beans, and it was the food was definitely not always there. There were nights where you went to bed hungry, and then,
Sure.
you had to, it was almost like food was used as a reward at the first of the month, when you had the extra money. I can remember clearly us walking in one of the grocery stores and her going, okay, you can pick out 2 boxes of snack cakes, because that was the only way that she could give to her kids. And I don't think that by any stretch of the imagination, she was trying to give us a bad relationship with food or anything like that. But yeah, it's crazy how it can start at a young age like that.
Right.
It really is.
So just for reference, were your parents overweight at all, or?
Yes, my mom was. I remember my mom yo-yo dieting. She had a lot of health issues, like diabetes and asthma and stuff like that. I don't ever remember my mom being small at all. She was always big my whole life, and she passed away in 97. And just to give you kind of a factor of her weight problem, she was about 550 pounds when she passed.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Now my dad on the opposite end, he was very skinny, tall and skinny. I often wonder why I didn't get those genes.
Yeah, right.
No, but he was the opposite. He was tall and skinny. I don't ever remember him being a larger person at all.
So do you think the food situation at home was because, let's face it, a lot of the less healthy food is less expensive?
Definitely. Beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Beyond a shadow of a doubt. You have rice that's compared to your vegetables, it was cheaper. You have snack cakes, that are cheaper than even now,
Right.
Snack cakes are cheaper than a bag of apples, or a bag of salad at this point in time,
Right.
But it was definitely because it was what she could get us,
Yeah.
So, and there was also a lot of having to go to food banks and stuff like that. So you just ate what was in the boxes, and a lot that's given there is the macaroni and cheese that you use with, butter and all that, and peanut butter, which is,
Right.
and so, yeah, you just ate what was in those boxes, and that's just the way it had to be, so.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So from there, when so I guess so did you have a weight issue early on as well, or?
Yes. I don't have very many younger pictures of me.
Okay.
The ones that I do, probably about, I'm going to say elementary, I was thinner, but I was never as thin as the other kids, if that makes any sense.
I
All the
know
way through
exactly what you're talking about. I know
all the
exactly.
way all the way through high school, I was the thick girl. And I went to a very, very extremely small Christian school. There was only 10 in my graduating class, including me. That's how
Wow.
small.
Okay. Yep.
So, and I was always the bigger girl. I never had the boyfriend. I never got asked to junior, senior banquet. None of that ever happened with me. And I always considered myself not the, not the pretty one, if that makes sense. Like, I was always self degrading myself as the way I looked and the way the shirts looked and the way my jeans looked. And I would always try to wear the baggy clothes and cover myself up. I've never been one to say that I'm the pretty one. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
just, I was the bigger one. I was the nice girl who was the friend of all the guys. Who I
Yep.
got along with everybody, So yeah, I was heavy from start.
Yeah, that it's funny because I think that that's something that I'm hearing a lot from a common standpoint, is that those of us who grew up overweight tend to be self-deprecating and really, let's be first before anybody else has an opportunity,
Yes.
and also we're a great friend.
Right. Yes. Oh, they're so nice. She
Yep.
has such a pretty face,
Yep.
and
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So that was pretty much through high school.
yeah, through high school, through, I went to a Bible college in Tennessee. Through there, I was always the bigger person. I moved here to Virginia in 97, the summer of 97, well, no, it was the fall after my mother passed away.
Okay.
I moved up here to be with my dad's parents. And I can remember going on like an extreme diet back then and losing weight, but I never got underneath 200 pounds.
Okay.
I cannot remember the last time I remember being under 200 pounds was in high school, which I graduated in 95. So yeah. So that was really the last time that I remember really working on it. I mean, I yo-yo dieted a lot, but I've
Yeah.
never been out of the 200s. So
So what
yeah.
what would you say your heaviest was?
My very heaviest was 365 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the biggest swing in terms of weight through the yo-yo dieting that you've done?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by the
So
swing.
so no, that's okay. So what I mean is when you chose to go on a diet or chose to lose weight,
Right.
did you have kind of an average level that you got to, or
Okay.
yeah?
Yeah. Maybe like, I think before now, I think the highest maybe I got was 50 pounds.
Okay. All right.
And then I would just, for whatever reason, quit.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
whatever it was. For a little bit there, it would be, having my kids. I would balloon up through the pregnancy, and then it would just stay with me,
Yep.
and then after, having Ruby, I kind of just lost myself, to be honest with you. I just
Mhm.
didn't care anymore. It was like, what's the point?
Right.
I mean,
Right.
seriously, I just didn't
Yeah.
care about myself. I needed to take care of the kids. I needed to take care of the house. I needed to do the job, help, my husband, whatever, it was just, I kind of put Jenny on the back burner for a very extremely long time.
Again, pretty common, right? Especially for those of us who have to take care of a lot of people, or any number of people. It doesn't even have to be a
Yeah.
lot, but
Mhm.
any number of people, where we just go, yeah, I know I should lose weight, but I got all this other stuff to do.
Right.
So forget it. I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
Which I guess arguably isn't the healthiest thing that we could have done.
Right. No,
But
definitely not.
well, and I'm sure you've heard it recently anyway. A lot of people do the airplane, put your oxygen mask on yourself first so that you're better able to help other people.
Right.
And it applies to the weight loss thing too,
Yeah.
obviously. But we ignore that.
Yeah.
We ignore that a lot.
Yeah. Totally ignore it because you don't think about that with weight loss. You don't think about that being something that you should put, right there in front of you, because if you don't, I mean, that just starts deteriorating your health. And then how can you pour from an empty cup? That's one of the things I've learned over the years,
Right.
over this year, but I can't pour from an empty cup.
So did you have any particular health issues related to your weight gain?
Definitely. I have had high blood pressure for a good while now. Now that's been underneath control. At one point in time, I was on 2 different types of blood pressure medicines. And I started kind of working on that with like my salt intake and stuff like that, and was able to get taken off of one prior to my weight loss now.
Okay.
And then a year, I'd always been pre-diabetic. They'd always been telling me, you're pre-diabetic, you're pre-diabetic, you're pre-diabetic. But on I think it was October the 13th or 14th of 2022, I got the results back and they were like, you're a diabetic. And my mom was a diabetic and she struggled with that big time, like the side effects of being a diabetic, the sores on the legs and stuff like that. And I honestly believe that was kind of my wake-up call that yeah, it definitely was.
So and that's about when you started this most recent weight loss journey, right?
Yes.
So I can relate to the blood pressure end of things because I'm still fighting blood pressure, high blood pressure now, although I was on 4 different meds and now I'm only on 2,
well, that's good.
which is good. And my doctor seems to think I can be off of it at my next physical, but we'll see what happens. But but at least the blood pressure medication is something that doesn't have a lot of adverse side effects, and it can be controlled, right? And so that's good. And the more successful we are, the better we're just going to be at all of that end of things. Right. The diabetes end of things, I've been lucky. I've been blessed with great blood work. So I don't even know. I would have expected I was diabetic, and no. Right. So that you said that happened in October, which you said came out as kind of a wake up call. Yes. So have you been able to make any progress from the diabetes end of things yet, or?
Yes, I have been. When I got diagnosed with it that Thursday, I woke up that Saturday morning on October the 15th. It's crazy how I can remember it like it's my child's birthday, Yep. But I sat up on the side of the bed and my fingers were swollen, my feet were swollen. I had been having a problem in the bottom calf of my left leg with a small lymphedema that was trying to form. And it was all because of weight. Like, it was all because of the pressure on my legs and, now the diabetes and everything. And I sat up on the edge of the bed and I thought to myself, this is a do or die today. Either you do it now or you're going to die. I mean, that's just, all I could see was my mom. I mean, truly. And, I could just see her. And I didn't want to do that to my kids. I didn't want to do that to little Ruby. I got 3 other ones, plus my husband. I didn't want to say, oh, I didn't want to go out like that. I didn't want to go out because of food. Right. So, that day I got up and I remember going to Walmart and the only thing I knew to do was low carb. So because of diabetes, automatically you go to that. Right. And so I went and got everything and I was supposed to see the doctor in 2 months to get more blood work done, or either it was a month. I can't remember which one it was. But I went to her and I told her, I said, I cannot do this low carb. It is not me. I'm going to quit. I will not make it. Now, I'm not knocking low carb because I still do try to watch my carbohydrates and just make them good ones. I don't go eat ho-hos or, I might every once in a while have a half a pack of a Swiss roll, Kurt. I'm not going to lie, but it goes into my Lose It app. So,
Yep.
But yeah, she told me, she was like, Jennifer, you have to find what works for you, and she asked me a series of questions of, how I grocery shop, how the family eats, that kind of thing. And she was the one that initially told me, let's go do low calorie. Let's see how that works for you. And told me how to try to balance my macros and my carbs and all that kind of stuff. And I left out of there worried and concerned because I had already been doing low carb and was scared I was going to gain weight or not be able to do it. And low calorie has just been, worked wonders for me. It's been so much easier. It's not as much as a mind game, if that makes any sense.
I've done the low carb thing too. And so I understand exactly what you're talking about, where it's actually kind of freeing.
Yes.
In being able to actually, you can have that half a Swiss roll.
Right.
You just can. And frankly, if you didn't, then that half a Swiss roll that you could have had turns into a box of Swiss rolls.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, that is exactly it, because that's where I was headed before I went into the doctor. I was like, I just I can't do this. I cannot. It's almost like I was depriving myself,
Yeah.
And several years ago, I got diagnosed with what they called BED, the binging disorder, where you just want to. You do exactly what you just said. You eat that Swiss roll, but then it turns into a box and then it turns into another one. And it happened to me the other night with the crackers and the cheese dip. I stood at my stove and I binged ate, and I knew that I shouldn't have. And, I've said it before, I almost feel like I'm in recovery. Yeah. Like I go like, hey, I'm Jenny and I've been clean and sober for how long? So I walked right into my living room and was like, honey, I just stood at the thing. I binged ate. I just confessed it to him. And the support that he gives me, my husband, Steve, is amazing. He just was like, well, was it good? And I said, yes, it was. And then you asked me if it tastes good. I'm like, you know what? Unfortunately, it did. I gotta be truthful.
So the way I view that is we beat ourselves up so much for the slips already. Mm-hmm. That if it at least tasted good, we get some positivity out of it, right?
Right.
And so honestly, I ask everybody that, like when people tell me, oh, I went off the rails last night, I went to Olive Garden and I ate 1,000 breadsticks or whatever.
Right.
I just say, was it good? Because that matters, because at least if you gained a little pleasure during the time, you got something out of it. But if you hated yourself while you were eating it, then that's a problem too. So the other thing is, and it sounds like you're handling this way better than you may have in the past. Mm-hmm. But A, coming clean right away, big deal. That's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And then B, I hope you just go, well, that happened.
Yeah.
And you can't beat yourself up any more than that. You got to forgive yourself, give yourself a little grace, because we're just figuring it out, right? We're just trying to live our lives in the best way we can. So
and that's one thing that I learned from being on TikTok and listening to you and other people that are on there, because my daughter had given me the ideal to get on TikTok as support. She was like, Mom, there's a whole different world out there. And I never really thought about doing that at all. So I downloaded it, and I saw this guy with Hawaiian shirts, and you were just starting. I think you were several days into 75 hard.
Okay. All right.
But already, but the videos I was seeing were the ones where you were you didn't say much while you were walking. I think like your first or two, you would just do like this, and I started watching you and then listening, and you started popping up on my For You page because I was searching out weight loss and low calorie and stuff like that. And just connected with it because you started talking about how you can't be hard with yourself. You can't, you've got to learn from what you've done and then just keep on going. And that's one of the hardest things that was for me was when I would mess up or I would just, blow it like I did the other night. Before I would be like, well, what's the point now? Yep. That's why I would stop at 50 pounds lost, or something like, what's the point? I can't do this anymore. And just, go the opposite way. But, when that happened the other night, I was like, Steve asked me if it tastes good. You asked me. And I'm like, it did. But you know what? Those crackers and that cheese dip are not going to control me.
Right.
They're not going to make me go gain my 81 pounds back. My 83 now pounds back, And that's one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn with myself is to give myself some grace and just be like, you've got this, you can do it. It's not easy. It's not hard. And it's definitely not for the weak at all because you've got to be strong.
So that happened Friday night. Is that when that happened for you?
Yes, it was Friday.
Yeah. So that's when I had my little slip up on Friday night as well.
Right.
And it in the past, at least for me, and it sounds like may have been for you, it would have been so easy for that to turn into, well, I guess I'm starting again on Monday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From Friday night.
Yeah, give myself a weekend.
Yeah. And then that turns into a whole nightmare of binge eating. I just like
you've jumped in the inner tube and you're going down the slippery slope.
Yeah. That would have ended up with hamburgers and pizza all weekend long for me.
Yes.
And probably some junk food. Like, look, you mentioned Swiss rolls, not my favorite Little Debbie. But I could destroy a box of oatmeal pies.
Oh, yes. It's the fudge rounds.
All of that.
Yes.
But now I've bought an oatmeal pie in the store just to have it. Yeah. And I think it's like 250 calories for the single pie, not the double stacker.
Right.
And that was enough. That got me the taste. And it was like, okay, cool. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
And so that for me, and it sounds like for you as well, is the key. Like that moderation where we never really grabbed onto that before because there were good foods and bad foods.
Right. And there were foods that you couldn't touch.
Right.
Or you wouldn't lose weight. And it's, I was just talking to my oldest child and telling him that, now we're mid-October. Yeah, we're mid-October. Yeah. Sometimes I lose track of my days because they're so busy. But we're mid-October. And before now, I would have had 3 bags of the Harvest Mix candy corn. I would have gotten my favorite Halloween candy and eaten 2 bags of it. And we had a bag of the Harvest Mix because my kids love it too. And that bag literally lasted us 2 weeks. Whereas before it wouldn't have even lasted 1 day because of me. I would have eaten the whole bag, So it's still strange to me to be able to know that I can do that.
Did you at least have a couple pieces?
Yes, I did. Oh, definitely.
Good.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. I counted them out too. It's like looking back on the thing, I'm like, okay, I can have, I think it's like 8 pieces, and that's including the pumpkins or something like that. And it's like 140 calories, best 140 calories I had.
That's
ever
great.
Because I love candy corn, but still I'm sitting there and sometimes still I'm like, why did you do that? And then I'm thinking, why didn't you? You put it into your app. You're fine. You're okay. I have to reassure myself that I'm okay in doing that because for so long I was, I thought you have to deprive yourself and eliminate so much stuff. And then I realized that's why I didn't make it for, however many times I tried, because I just I hadn't found my process. And I talk a lot about that. It's finding my process and you have to trust it even on the weeks that your scale doesn't show anything.
Right.
So, but it's definitely a mind game. sometimes.
It is kind of nice though when you go, okay, I can have 8 pieces of harvest mix and it's 140 calories. Is that 140 calories worth it to me? And
That one
sometimes the
day.
answer is yes, and sometimes
That's
it's
right.
no, right?
Mhm.
Like
Yes.
I like beer. I like beer quite a bit. And there are days where I go, well, I could save these calories and have a couple of beers with my buddies,
Hmm.
or just have a Diet Coke while I'm with my buddies. Is it worth the calories? And again, some days, yes.
Yes.
Some days, no. And actually, probably more often than not, no.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
but every now and then, and that's and the nice thing is that we can accommodate all of that.
Right.
So,
Yes. Yes. And then that's why I love that. I love the calorie way, the low calorie ways, because, like me and my husband went out to eat to Old Charlie's and I got to have one of their rolls and it was the best 150 calorie roll that I had eaten
yeah,
ever. And we were planning on going to a Mexican restaurant and we looked on the line and they didn't have the calories listed. So we were just like, okay, well, let's shift and change who does. And we found Old Charlie's and I went and I had a steak and asparagus and it was, walked away full and satisfied and then realized I'm still on my way of eating. I didn't break anything. I didn't break my process. I didn't, and it was good. And like I said, it blows my mind sometimes,
right.
it blows my mind. So,
How much easier would it be if everybody had to put their calories on?
right.
And there are some states, I guess, that does happen,
Yeah.
but not all of them.
No. Yeah.
But the good and the bad with that is the good is we can tell now,
Right.
and the bad is if you see the number of calories on some things, like if you go to one of the chain restaurants or whatever,
Yes.
holy cow!
It's yeah, like we were looking at one of the sample appetizers that me and him used to get, and I would eat most of it.
Yeah,
And I'm going, that's 1,500 calories in one appetizer. That is like almost
yeah,
my limit in a day now.
right,
So it was just, they brought things into perspective of what I was eating, you
right,
know.
right.
And when I first started low calorie, I started out just logging my food that I was eating in the day. And then I realized, wow,
Yep.
you are like eating a lot more than what you need to be. And it wasn't I just jumped into it,
Mm-hmm.
at the beginning. It really wasn't. It was a process. It was a step by step. And that's one thing I had to learn was it's not going to happen overnight. I would, before I would get on the platform like y'all are on and see all your weight loss. And if I didn't lose 5 pounds in the first week, it's never going to happen to me.
Right,
you
right,
know, I had
right.
to get that thought out of my brain that, they started with day 1, too.
Yes.
They were there before, right where you're at, and you've just got to take it step by step by step.
Yeah, and if we look at it from we're trying to lose the weight forever, not for now,
Right.
it makes a difference. And
Yeah.
so, like when people ask me about how do I get started, I literally just say get a food tracker, don't change your diet, just log
Right.
everything for a couple of
Yeah.
weeks, and just get used to that,
Yeah.
and then you can review and you go, whoa, okay.
Right. Right. And when you say that on some of your videos in the evening, I'm like, man, that's what I did
Yeah.
months ago. Y'all need to listen to him. That's
Yeah.
what
Right. Well, it just makes a difference, right?
Yes.
It's because you're trying to put into place a process, not just a diet.
Right.
So
Yeah. Yes.
yeah. So can we talk a little bit about your family?
Sure.
So you have a husband and 4 kids, is that correct?
Husband and 4 kids. Yes.
Okay. And how long have you been with your husband?
We've been married 23 years.
Wow, 23 years.
23 years together, 23 years. It was a whirlwind. Everybody says it's a whirlwind romance.
Okay.
Yes. On our 3rd date, he was telling me he loved me and was going to marry me. And I would look at him and go, I'm like, yeah, okay. And he did. He married his name's Stevie and I'm Jenny. And it's all of our friends around us are like, man, we just did not think y'all were going to to make it. It was a whirlwind, but it lasts. I mean, he's my best friend and he supports me greatly. I mean, greatly. And he's loved me through any size I've been, 360 right down to 257. So
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So, is he heavy?
He's been joking around that I'm smaller than him now.
Okay.
So he's about in the 270s.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're both about 5'5", 5'6", somewhere around in there. So yeah, he's a little on the heavier side for his frame. Yes.
Okay.
So
And he right now he's not doing anything other than supporting
no,
you.
but he actually has been talking about it.
Oh, all right.
So he's been milling it around a little bit here and there. He had done it once before, but he also went to the doctor and found out that he was pre-diabetic, and his health has never been an issue.
Right.
And he's 50 now, so he's been kind of thinking about it. And I told him, I said, well, I pack your lunches. So, it's just something I do in the morning for him and Ruby. So, he's been milling it around, and I try not to push it too much because I feel like people are ready when they're ready.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to make them ready, it's not going to work.
I've had friends say, hey, you should talk to one of our other friends about weight loss and whatnot. And I'm like, that's not my place. Like if he has questions and wants some advice or help, cool. I got no problem with that.
Right.
But I'm not going to go, have you thought about losing weight?
Yeah.
Because that's worked so well when people do that to me.
Oh, just wonders, right? And you're standing there looking at them going, have you thought about shutting up?
Right.
Of course I've thought about it.
Have you thought about how much a karate chop to the throat would hurt right now?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
exactly.
Okay, so your 4 kids, what are the, without necessarily being specific, what are the age ranges?
23, 21, 14, and Ruby is 12.
Okay. And 23 and 21-year-old living with you?
Yes, they're still with us. Yeah.
All right.
I'm actually in my 21-year-old's room because it's the quietest place in the house. It's a smaller home. So I'm in the back of the house. She was like, just come in here and do it in here. She's actually sitting over here.
So what do they think of mom's weight loss?
Everybody's been so supportive, and they just think it's amazing. Like, they'll look at the pictures and be like, they'll come and they were going through pictures the other night. They're like, Mom, look, it's amazing. And the other day I was standing there complaining about my pants falling down. And one of them was like, well, you shouldn't be complaining, Mom, because you're looking great, and Ruby, of course, she goes out with me on some of my walks. Other times she's out playing with her neighborhood friends. But she was telling me the other day, she said, we were walking together side by side, and I was pulling my pants up, and she said, Mom, when you first started walking, I would look over there and everything would be together. And she goes, and no offense, your stomach would be right here. And she was showing me. She goes, now I look over there and you're half of you. And that just makes you feel so good that you're showing them that determination.
Yeah.
Brings results, and she's seen it. She's seen me have my bad days. I try to keep it real with them that, it's not easy. Or if I'm walking through and they see me take something out of my hand that I got out of the pantry and I throw it on the table and walk off, they don't even ask me anymore what I'm doing. That is me going, I don't need that. And if I go back to the pantry, I'm going to grab something else.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit on the table for right now, So, but they're excited with me. They're excited.
That's great.
Yeah.
So do they have any weight issues?
My oldest one, yes. Okay. And he's working on that. He really is. Slowly but surely. He's finding his process, Sure. So it's something that again has to come from what he wants to do, but I honestly, not to puff myself up, honestly think that him seeing me do it, because he's the one that's seen me the biggest, the longest. and remembers me at my highest of 360 some pounds, it's really encouraging him.
Yeah.
To
Well, you're providing a great role model. And so
Yeah.
I think just by doing your thing, you're
Yes.
showing them that it can be done.
Yes.
And so that's pretty awesome. And the fact that Ruby's out there walking with you again, I think I may have seen a glimpse of her in the camera once.
Look, I tried to get her. I was like, before we start recording, you can come in and say hi to Mr. Kurt. She's asleep right now because she gets up. Our middle school kids go like early in the morning. They're the first tier to go. And so she goes to bed early, but she was just like, Mom, I'm really shy, and I was like, it's okay, because she really is shy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, she'll walk with me long enough but then when her friends come out across on the other side of my loop that I do, it's all downhill from there. She wants to go play. So I'm like, don't play. I'll keep walking. At least you're getting active, So
well, and she's walking with you some of the time. So that's really good. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel good for her in middle school to want to be seen with Mom,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's awesome. And it's really nice to hear that everybody's been so supportive. And because that matters, right? I mean, they could be bringing junk food into the house and just eating it in front of you to try to tempt you or whatever.
Right.
And it doesn't sound like that's happening.
Oh no, it's the exact opposite. I can go to Steve and say I'm having a bad day. My mental day is not good, and he'll give me ideas. If at the beginning he would give me ideas. Well, is there something you can do to distract yourself? And at first, when I first started, I was just constantly cleaning and doing my laundry and all that, anything to get my brain off. Now, it was really hard at the beginning. Now my days like that are very spread out. I don't have them. Before, when I started, it would be half the week that I felt like I battled mentally. Now it's Friday, I think, was the first time, really hard time in probably a month, maybe, I think. So it wasn't, so when it popped up like that, it was just like, what the heck is going on? Out of nowhere, it just popped up, but yeah.
That'll happen. And luckily though, those become moments, not days or or weekends, right?
Right. Yeah.
No, that's great.
Yes.
So I'm gonna ask the loaded question. What's your goal?
170.
170. Okay.
I want to be 170.
Okay.
That is right where they can't call me obese for my body frame.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's under the 30% mark, right? Yeah. Yep.
It might be a little bit less than that. It might be like maybe 10 more pounds, but I believe it is 170. And I don't want to see obese on the paper, because when I leave the doctor, every time they give you your stat page of your blood pressure, your temperature, your pulse, and underneath it, it'll put body mass. And then in parentheses, it says obese. And I want to see that piece of paper that says, no, you're not obese anymore.
Yep.
So.
I remember when I went from morbidly obese to simply obese, and it sounds silly, but I talked to a bunch of friends of mine and I said, hey, I'm just merely obese now.
Yes. Yeah. And that's me too. That's me too now. I'm just merely obese now. I'm not morbidly. So, we're making progress, Kurt. We're doing it.
Yep.
So yeah, I get that. Definitely.
Yeah, so very cool. Okay. So if you had one piece of advice to give to somebody who is just starting their weight loss journey, what would that be?
I think that it would be to give yourself grace. And what I mean by that is to not be hard on yourself. So many times we just focus on the negativity of everything that we've done wrong.
Right.
And I don't care. I say this a lot when I'm walking in my videos. I don't care if it's just one thing you can pick in a day that you are proud of yourself. Mm-hmm. You need to find that. Be it you logged all your food.
Right.
Maybe you went over your calories. Maybe you didn't eat what you're supposed to, but did you log it? Yes. So that shows you, what you need to do better tomorrow. Did you walk and still go over your calories? Yeah. Okay. Well, you walked.
Right.
You've got to give yourself grace, and you've got to know that not every day is roses and butterflies.
Right.
At all. It's a huge process, and to just know that the smallest, tiniest steps. I can remember when I very first started walking, and 30 minutes seems like a whole hour, and I couldn't get up and down my street more than twice without having to stop, bend over, and hold myself like this because my hips were just hurting me so bad.
Yeah.
But I did it. I gave myself, and I was proud of myself. The first week it was only two laps. The second week it was a little bit more and a little bit more. And now I'm up to 2.5, almost 3 miles in 40 minutes,
Yep.
And you just have to learn that you have to give yourself the time to know your process, and that it's not going to happen overnight, and you cannot be hard on yourself. You just can't. I mean, there are days to be hard, to push through and do what you need to do, but don't be hard on yourself when you do mess up, because that's what starts the slippery slope. And you just got to give yourself grace.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. I think that's really important. And one of the things that people say a lot is it didn't take you a month to put on all that weight. It's not going to take you a month to take it all off.
Right. That is right. And that's what I had to keep telling myself when I saw you had lost so much weight, and the other people that are in the community, that I see that are just lost all this weight. I had to keep telling myself every day. Started out every day I would be discouraged, and it got better as I went along. And I just had to keep reminding myself, you did not get 340 pounds overnight. You are not going to lose it overnight. You're not going to lose it in a week. You're not going to lose it in a month. It's been a year, and I've only done 83 pounds. I have over 80 some more pounds to go.
Only 83.
But I know. I knew you were getting ready to say that. I knew it. I knew you were getting ready to say that, Kurt. Not only 83 pounds, but it took me a year to do it. I didn't lose it the first night. If I had, we would have had a problem. Know.
But the other thing too is realize that, like, 83 pounds in a year is nearly 7 pounds a month.
Right. Yes.
And if you do that for 2 years,
right,
that's 166 pounds. I mean, that's a lot.
Yes. I'm looking so forward to this next year. I really am.
Yeah.
The first year is need to say it was hard. Yes. It was not easy. I'm honest. It was not easy. Were there days that were better than others? Yes. Were there better days than bad days? Yes. As I got along in my process. But this year too, I know there's going to be bad days, but I'm excited for it. When I first started this past year, I was scared.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was scared I was going to fail. And now that I've proven that I'm not, and that I can keep going, I'm so excited. I'm very excited.
I want to revisit something. So when you started, would you say that you started out of fear because of the diabetes?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm trying. I'm asking people how they what drives them to start. Yeah. Because everybody's got their own little story about what that was. Yes. Like for me, it was this is going to sound way stronger than I mean it to be, but it was kind of self loathing. So, like I was sick and tired of disappointing myself.
Yes. Yeah, I get that. Yes.
And so when people ask me about it, I just said I was done. I was done being overweight. I was done not being able to walk. I was done being the fat, funny friend.
Right. Yes.
Just all of that stuff, all the baggage that comes with it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was more frustration that drove me to start.
Yeah.
But everybody has different motivations. And so I like to ask, because I try to just kind of collate it all and figure out where we all come from.
It was definitely fear, because I had seen my mother die at 45.
Yeah.
I saw my mom in a casket at 45, and I know what she missed. I know what she lost. She didn't get to see her grandkids. You know, she didn't get to see her son-in-law. And she had always wanted grandkids when I was growing up. You know, she had always been saying, oh, I'm going to have grandkids one day. I'm going to do this one day. I'm going to do that one day. And when that diagnosis came and I sat on the edge of the bed that morning, I was literally afraid of dying like she did, you know, and I was 45, you know, back then, you know, so it was definitely fear that started. And I don't think that was a bad thing. I think that it was my rock bottom. You always hear somebody who says, I hit rock bottom, and I had finally hit my rock bottom. And I thought, do I want my kids standing over me in a casket? No, I don't want to do that to them. I don't want to do that to my husband, you know, so I've got to do something, you know, and I put one foot in front of the other, and, you know, I just had to do it. I mean, it just had to happen.
Maybe that's kind of the key, right? I mean, maybe we kind of all hit our rock bottom, no matter how that's gotten to. Like for me, it was frustration. For you, it was fear. But we realized we were there.
Right. Yeah.
And so maybe that's more the commonality for a lot of us. I find that really interesting. So let's see. I'm going to ask you this question that I ask everybody, and that is it okay if we contact you next year during our second season and do a follow-up?
I would be more than proud and excited and just as ecstatic right now as I am that I got to talk with you.
You're very kind. So because literally, you know, the weight loss progress that people have right now during this is great to see.
Yeah.
But we also want to see what happens in the future. Like, are we able to maintain, or are we not? And if not, why? And if so, why?
Yeah.
You know, just because we're all different. We all have our own stories. And I think that the value is in the story for people who are just starting out. So
yeah. Definitely.
All right. Well, I think unless you have any more words.
No, I don't think so. Other than I'm just so happy I got to finally meet Mr. Kurt, the famous Mr. Kurt. So
stop it. So why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on social media?
Well, I'm on TikTok as Jenny B, and I think it's at Big Papa's Wife. And that's really the only platform I'm on. I am on Instagram. I think it's Jenny on a Mission. I think is how they can find me. I don't post. Most of my stuff's on TikTok. Yeah.
Okay. So. All right. Well, great. Once again, Jenny, thank you so much for talking with me. I really appreciate it. And I know that people are going to love to hear your story. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kurt.
You are very welcome. All right. You have a great week, and we will chat next time.
You also.